The music industry has gone through a massive shift from pushing physical media toward using digital files to make currency. As a result, for example, in the US, it has moved from the traditional Tuesday release schedule to Fridays. Other nations have also adapted to the change, creating one standardized release day worldwide. This has helped bands, labels, and promoters keep track of which releases are successful. This shift, influenced by the power of streaming music services, has been called New Music Friday, named by Spotify, the creator of the concept. By shifting to the global release day of Friday, now the music industry can track which releases are successful, and artists can battle and see which releases are successful on a more fair playing field. Independent artists can put their own music out on the same day and climb the charts just like a major signed artist. In the US, music fans would line up at big box and local music stores to get the latest releases each Tuesday. They would be delivered the night before and put out before doors opened the next day. When a release had a single promoted and it was made popular by the music business, even from the 1950s to the mid-2010s, this song and that album would take off. It would climb the charts, but only for a couple of weeks, then the next release would come along and kick it off the charts. The music industry, when relying on physical media, had to rely on distributors to get their media across the world, making each country specify their release day based on when the media would come in. According to SuperFridayChart.com, before Spotify made Fridays synonymous with the Feast of New Music, the tradition of releasing music on a particular day of the week had already been established. Historically, Tuesdays were the standard release day in the United States, while other countries had their own customs. However, as the global market for music expanded, the need for a unified release day became increasingly apparent. Enter New Music Friday. SuperFridayChart.com 2023. New Music Friday, more than just a playlist, it's a launchpad. If you read on the article, it continues to say, in July 2015, the International Federation of the Phonographic Industry, IFPI, made it official. Fridays would become the official global release day for new music. The reasoning was manifold. Fridays align with the start of the weekend, a time when listeners are more inclined to explore new music. It also simplifies the marketing efforts for artists and labels, allowing them to focus on one specific day for a coordinated global release. SuperFridayChart.com, 2023, September. New Music Friday, more than just a playlist, it's a launchpad. In the pre-streaming era, new releases had a different cycle. An artist would drop a single which would climb the charts, but often fade into obscurity within days or weeks, leading to intense battles. Today, streaming services like Apple Music, Spotify, and Amazon have shifted this dynamic significantly. Instead of waiting for singles, listeners binge entire albums, giving independent artists and those signed with major labels continuous visibility. AIMM 2024, June 28th. How streaming changed the music industry. Now the industry worldwide could be tracked, regulated, and more easily marketed to potential and current music fans. The reason this is important is because it gives all artists a level playing field when it comes to releasing music, and it gives the industry a way to track the statistics of those releases. Playlists dominate the industry now, instead of music countdowns with singles on the radio. Playlists feature specific genres or artists similar to one another, and they dominate the landscape of the streaming market. The biggest one is New Music Friday on Spotify.com. Streaming playlists are the new form of radio. By becoming successful on streaming playlists, artists were now able to earn based on getting streams, therefore creating new fans, instead of relying on existing fans to buy albums that may or may not make it to stores or may not make it to potential fans. According to Ari Herstand, musicians don't care about a write-up in Pitchfork as much as they do about a placement in New Music Friday. How to make it in the new music business, practical tips on building a loyal following and making a living as a musician, 3rd edition, 2023, by Ari Herstand. Spotify has become the new discovery mechanism for music industry professionals. 10 years ago, it was Hype Machine and blogs. There are many playlists plugging the strategies out there that you can master to get on user-generated and other playlists, and your distributor may be able to help you get into official editorial playlists. You should also submit all of your new releases directly to Spotify via the submission portal on Spotify for artists. The more playlists you get added to, the better chance your music will show up on managers' Discover Weekly. And this is how you get discovered and signed. This is according to Ari Herstand in 2023 from his book, How to Make It in the New Music Business, Practical Tips on Building a Loyal Following and Making a Living as a Musician, 3rd edition, page 63. If you read on in the same book, on page 93, it says, Spotify has led the industry in streaming. Spotify has led the industry in streaming growth with their powerful playlists. It's now commonplace for independent artists to be able to quit their day jobs because one of their songs gets included in a few popular playlists. Many playlists have tens of thousands of monthly listeners. Some of these listeners turn into fans, but because every stream is monetized, the artist is getting paid regardless if they make a new fan or not. Ari Herstand 2023. How to Make It in a New Music Business, Practical Tips on Building a Loyal Following and Making a Living as a Musician, 3rd edition. Streaming playlists are now the dominant form of getting music to listeners worldwide. By creating a single day that all music comes out, the music listener can find content on the weekend and see what they identify with more easily. The reason this is important is because now independent artists has as much of a chance of getting discovered as a major artist, and both can playlist pitch, which will lead to maybe reaching a new fan. Streaming playlists dominating the landscape of music has created the need for standardization of releases, but also fairness in the streaming playlist market. Streaming playlists evolved to a culture of fairness in the mid-2010s with the banning of pay-to-play marketing in the playlisting market, beginning with playlists on streaming services and then on other services worldwide. Artists used to be able to play for a playlist placement or inclusion. Artists used to be able to pay for a playlist placement or inclusion. Artists used to be able to pay for a playlist placement or inclusion. Entire industries have popped up utilizing the Spotify ecosystem, focused squarely on playlists, as much to Spotify's jargon as the industry realized how powerful Spotify playlists were. The playlist editors became the new radio programmers. Some labels found ways to even woo the editors to the point that Spotify was a bit squeamish with how it all was working. They officially came out against the practice of paying to influence playlist inclusion, but that didn't stop individual playlist editors from taking bribes under the table and keeping it hidden from Spotify. According to Ari Herstand, 2023, How to Make It in the New Music Business, Practical Tips on Building a Loyal Following and Making a Living as a Musician, 3rd edition, page 243. Lastly, Spotify has drawn a line in the sand saying that they don't Spotify has drawn a line in the sand saying that they don't allow playlisters to charge for inclusion. That's apparently wrong, but paying for consideration to be included on a playlist seems to be a-okay. And TikTok is perfectly peachy having their creators paid to include songs in their videos. That's apparently just fine. This is according to Ari Herstand and LiveRight Publishing with their book, How to Make It in the New Music Business, Practical Tips on Building a Loyal Following and Making a Living as a Musician, 3rd edition, page 41. That's the way things have changed. This is the fairness doctrine. I want everybody knows that now we have a standard day to consume new music worldwide, the ability to hear entire albums at once, and now that playlists dominate the music business, the fan now has more control over their music listening experience than ever before. The music industry has created a more balanced and universal market for all artists to attempt to release music successfully.